People are still joining, but we can start. This becomes very distracting. People join off and on as per their sweet will. Welcome back, all of you. The recording has started. We are getting distracted by the people who are joining in between, but I don't know there is any way of preventing that. System should allow them automatically instead of I having to admit and then getting disturbed in the presentation. The next step is we had talked of now we had closed the previous session at that we divide the market into different groups. These groups become what we call the segments. Now, going back again to what we had mentioned earlier also in the previous session, what is the market? Market we had talked of, like the place where you go to shop where the buyers and sellers meet. That is the place. Market can also be used to refer to all the institutions which are involved in the marketing process. Wholesalers, distributors, stockists, retailers, and others, which come part of the chain of distribution. They are also, the term market can be used to refer to them also. It can be used to refer to the demand for the product. What is the market for a particular product? Like say it used as a substitute for the word demand. Like what is the market for the electric cars? Now the latest thing is in the market is electric cars instead of the mechanical ones, the electric cars. What is the market for electric cars? Whether it is good, whether if you are a producer, whether you should go in for electric cars or not, or whether they don't have any future. A similar thing is the self-driven cars. Is there sufficient market for the self-driven cars? Self-driven cars are available, but then people are still not sure about how safe they are. So, well, there is sufficiently a big market for the electric cars. There is a much smaller market for the self-driven cars. So, you find that there is the term market can be used to refer to different meanings at different point at different with the different context depending upon the context. The market case possible to define the market in terms of the generic need. Like say one generic need is hunger. When you are hungry, you need food. But what kind of food will be able to satisfy your hunger? That may differ from people to people. Same product may not be find good enough to satisfy the hunger for a particular individual or a particular group of individuals. Like say one small distinction you can make is, like say you are going out for lunch during the lunch break in the office. So what you are looking at is something quick, which will not take long and which you can buy and consume within the time given for the lunch break and then get back to work. And it should be reasonably priced. Suppose you are going for eating out on a weekend with family or friends, then you are not looking for a quick bite. Then you are looking for a relaxed atmosphere, enjoying the ambience over a longer period, and maybe trying different types of cuisine. So generic need is food because of the hunger, and the specific need will vary. Similarly, for entertainment, TV provides you entertainment, music provides you entertainment, movies provide you entertainment, theater provides you entertainment. So, generic need is entertainment. What kind of entertainment? That becomes a subcategory within that, and you find that there are different groups, the different subcategories for different types of entertainments. These subcategories for entertainment or for some food, they become different, what we call different market segments. I hope it is clear. Generic need is satisfy the hunger. How do you satisfy? Different groups of people have different preferences and they will like to satisfy different that hunger in a different category. The same similarly a desire for entertainment in a different subcategory. So each subcategory becomes a segment by itself, which are a group of people who have similar needs or similar preferences for a particular type of need. I hope the concept is clear. This becomes the basis of most of our subsequent functions. So, to repeat the same thing in different words, that buyers in the market look for some product which satisfies the same function, same need, but the way the means of satisfying that need are evaluated by the individual consumer, they differ. And for each of them, the right choice is a different subcategory by itself. So, when you are talking of food, different types of food offerings will attract different types of buyers. And these similarities and differences between the different categories, subcategories of buyers or the groups of buyers help a marketer to divide them into different subclasses, which can be referred to as the market segment. They are not watertight. They may not be physically easily identifiable, but conceptually, it is possible to have a distinct category. Like again, you take an example of yourself. You want to pursue MBA. There are a lot many who want to pursue MBA, but there are different categories. Some are in a position to do it full time on a regular basis in a regular college. Some, like those who are now students, most of them are working people want to improve their knowledge, who want to enhance their skills level, but they are not in a position to attend the regular colleges. So, desire to attain additional qualification is common, but the way you can avail it or the way you want to avail it, there are two distinct categories: regular classes, online or distant learning classes. So the way these two different distinct segments can be served will differ. Regular classes means online presentations may not be required. They may be done, but that is not a necessity. Whereas for the distance learning, online is almost a necessity, and they don't have regular classes. No, even if it is all offline, it will be limited. Smaller number, lesser number of classes, and each of these concepts discussed in a much bigger detail, much longer detail, because the time is not the constraint. So like here, we have done 2 units in 2 hours. In the regular classroom situation, it may take 2 weeks to do the same, to cover the same, because then you'll have time sufficient to be able to go into each and every part, in each and every concept. So that is it. I think that distinction of having different subclasses of market is clear to you. So that each subclass becomes a segment by itself. So it is a subset of the market. Now, how far you can go on segmenting the market into smaller and smaller groups? It can come down theoretically or practically also in certain circumstances into what is called the one man, what is called the niche marketing, NICHE, niche marketing. Like say, one example you can take is what you call the mass marketing, where you have ready-made garments, mass produced, available to large number of people at a given price. And niche marketing in this scenario will be you go to a particular tailor who takes measurements and stitches the suit or the pant or the shirt or whatever dress you want specifically to your size, your measurements. One single person. That is niche marketing. It can happen in the other this thing, like some of the high-end fashion dresses, they have what we call the limited edition. Even in the cars, high-end cars, you have the limited edition models, only 25 models produced or 50 produced, like that. And they, of course, cost a hell of a lot of money. So this segment can be carried out right down to just one person, but it will depend upon the commercial viability. Obviously, you find the ready-made garments much cheaper than when you go to the tailor for getting the individual suit stitched. It costs much more. So, depending upon whether the person is willing to pay that much, yes, some people may be willing, some may not be willing. So, commercial viability of the small segment, it becomes important. What are the practices entered into by the rivals, your competition, their practices? They become important. And these segments may change over a period of time. The what kind of product they want, what kind of output they want, what kind of service they want, those preferences may change. So what can happen? You may have to adapt your product to the changing preferences.
Excuse
It
me,
may be
sir. Sorry to interrupt.
pardon, pardon?
Hello, sir. Sorry to interrupt you, sir. There are some of the learners who want to join. They are
Okay,
not
okay,
unable to join the
okay,
session.
okay. This is the real. disruption. I think they have the university finds out some, I hope, some way of doing it, automatically, or someone else does it instead of disrupting the flow of the session. Thanks for telling me. So what we are talking about, that adaptation of the product may be required with the change in preferences after some time. Now, the way this can be subdivided, there may be number of characteristics which can be the basis of dividing this thing into the motive of buying, why they are buying it, and the way they buy it. Like there may be someone, no, who buys every time you say ki fresh, or there may be someone who wants to buy in bulk and keep, like say food, in terms of food, say wheat and rice or some other cereals and all. Some people buy in bulk and keep it, but who can keep it? The person has to have the storage capacity, the money to buy large quantity, and some way of preserving the quantity. No, it should not get damaged. Now, in say in the urban scenario, particularly say in the metros, the houses the people live in are so small and the rents are so high that a large number may be there who cannot afford to have that kind of storage space, nor they have that kind of capacity to buy large quantity for the whole year in one go. They're getting say salary weekly or fortnightly or monthly, so they buy smaller quantities, less storage capacity, less buying capacity. So many things. The buying patterns will differ. Buying behavior will differ. So all these heterogeneous groups based on these kind of characteristics are divided into the groups which are more homogeneous. They not be totally homogeneous, but a significantly large number who have similar buying patterns, behaviors, and motives. What are the benefits from segmenting? Why should the company go for segmentation? Why should they not do the mass marketing? One thing is that each company, however big, there's a limitation of resources. Because of limitation of resources, it can serve only a limited number of people. Now, since it can serve a limited number of people, it will like to utilize its resources for picking up a group or a segment, as we call it, whom it can serve most satisfactorily and at the same time having sufficient profits. And if the firm is catering to a smaller segment, it will be possible for the firm to have more satisfied customers and therefore have what we call the customer loyalty towards the firm, because what the firm is offering and what the consumers' expectations are matched much better than if the company was trying to diversify its resources over a larger number instead of focusing on a smaller number, limited number of segments. So it is possible to have a more satisfied customer group by segmentation and have optimum utilization of the limited resources to which the firm has the access. Now, there are certain people who say segmentation is not the good thing to do. or the segmenting the this thing is not really an effective strategy. With this reference, one point which comes up is that these segments are not mutually exclusive. They are not watertight. Same consumer for a particular product or a particular type of behavior pattern may be part of one group, and for others, it may be part of a different segment. Like, say, one example I had referred earlier also to in the beginning when we were talking of the consumer and the customer and user, that you buy something for yourself. Buying a laptop for yourself as an individual, you belong to one group, and buying a laptop for your organization, you are part of a different subgroup, a different segment. Second situation, you are part of a organizational buyer, and otherwise you are an individual buyer. And within the individual buyer, you may be, like you may be someone with a technical background and someone with a just like say non-technical background wants it as a user. So who wants it as a user, non-technical background, may be less particular about the specifications of the product, but the one with the technical background will be more particular about the different specifications, chip, storage capacity, hard disk, software, what kind of chip, what this thing, all those details may be more this thing. They individual become two different categories with technical background, with non-technical background. So it may not be necessarily be that for a particular product or a particular type of product there will be same segment. No, for there also there can be different sub-segments, and within that, a person with a technical background may want to go in for a high-end product, or someone may like to go at the low-end product. There are certain situations where the differences between the products may be marginal, what you call negligible, very small. There, the segmentation may not be, the market may not be heavily segmented. It may be, overlaps. And where the differences are significant, then the this categorization may be uh, on what basis you do the segmentation. There could be different bases can be used for the purpose of dividing the markets into different segments. First and foremost is the benefit. What benefit a particular group of customer is seeking. Accordingly, you divide them into different segments. Then some segmentation may be based on the geographic area, like say different nations, within a nation, different states or different regions. Then say cities, tier 1, metropolis, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, urban, semi-urban, rural, or it could be even based on the same in a large country like India, climatic conditions, up north, very cold, middle of the country, hot down south, there is hardly any winter at all. So geographical segmentation could be the one basis. Demographic, depending upon the age group, gender, family size, income level, education, background, nationality. They all can be basis of the segmentation. Like say a person like me, if I have to buy a car, I may be more concerned about the uh, average, how far it goes, whereas a younger person buying a car may be more concerned about the pickup, how fast it picks up from 0 to 100, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, no, like that, how far it goes and how fast it goes. Product is same car, and they even say the color, flashy colors, subdued colors. Psychographic is your activities, interests, and the opinions psychologically. So the cognitive factors which drive the behavior of the consumers. Like say some persons are what we call the compulsive buyers, or what we another term used is impulsive buyers. Like say you see a product, you like it, and you immediately buy, regardless of the consequences, whether you have that much money in your pocket or you may have to borrow from a friend who is accompanying you. But you like the product, you buy. There are other kinds, who will weigh all the pros and cons, and whether it is within your reach or it is beyond your reach. And if it is beyond your immediate reach, then whether you can go in for EMIs or some loan is possible against that product. So personal variables, values, lifestyles, and all, they have an impact on what the how the customer will decide. So depending on these, that can become another basis for the segmenting the market. What kind of usage rate you have? Some people use certain things very frequently. Some use once in a while. Say for entertainment. Some people want to go for the first show for each movie, and some people watch a movie on once in a 6 months or maybe once in a year. Loyalty of the brand by generation. You have these cult of the X, Y, and millennials and all those things. Yes, some wants for something. Some query, some query there or no? Those who don't want to ask anything or they don't have, then please keep your uh, microphones, these things shut. No, on the don't keep them open. No, all the sound which is coming is disturbing everyone. If you have a query, then open them. Otherwise, you keep them mute on the mute. This we were talking of the individual segmentation, then the organizational markets. How do you segment them? Variables may differ, but the similar kind of basis may be there involved. One is that one basic thing is what are the major or minor accounts. No, like government can be a major account by them. Then depending upon the size of the buyer, it may be major or minor account. Then type of buying situation, whether the customer is coming to you for the first time, he's a new buyer, or he's coming to you with is repeating the demand but in a modified manner. He's modifying the demand, or he's coming for the state rebuy as it is, as was the first one, same as the repeat buy end user. Now in this we find that all markets, second step is after the segmentation is the targeting the market. You have subdivided the whole market into different segments, but then which one you should aim at, which one you should target. Targeting is basically which one you decide to serve, that I will exclude all others, but I'll focus on, concentrate on only on this market. One example which I can give you about the segmentation for easier understanding, it might you might have already studied somewhere in your study material also or some books. Suppose you decide to produce a perfume. Now, if you think of dividing, segmenting the market, to begin with, the whole world outside is a segment, is a market for you, but you have limited resources. You cannot cover the whole market. Then you try to find out which particular group you will be able to serve better. Now, the first basis of segmenting the market outside is the whole world as such. For perfume, two major categories based on the gender, males and the females. Of course, the trends are changing now, particularly in the metros and all. But traditionally, and it is still has some effect, males, male gender as such, are less fond of using perfumes. They use it much less in as a percentage, even when they use it, than the females. So you may decide that it is no point in focusing on the male market, but you focus only on the females. Now, females includes no young babies, teenagers, adults, old ladies, who are more likely to use. Young babies won't, elderly ladies less likely. So, adults, teenagers are more likely to use it. Then within that, if you can further subdivide it into working and non-working. Working women, since they are going to the office every day, are obviously more likely to use perfume while getting ready than the one who is staying at home. The housewives may do it, for some party, some get-togethers and all, but not on a regular basis. So you find that if you concentrate on the working woman, that is a segment which is large enough, isn't it? Now, working women, who all are covered in the working woman? Even your maid is a working woman. Does she use perfume every day? No. She may use it once in a while, some special occasion, going to the market, some get together in the family, some function. So you find that depending upon the different types of the employment or the say income levels, you may have the ones who will use it occasionally and the ones who will use it regularly. So you may rule out the maids, you may rule out another category. You may find that again further subdividing into that group into the middle level executives and the top end. So you may decide the middle level may be much larger number. So you may decide that I will concentrate only on the middle level. Or if the firm you have resources enough, you may decide that you will target all the three segments, and you will come out different variants of the perfume. One for the low end, lower income, one for the middle income, one for the high income, and accordingly change their packaging, change their price levels. Of course, it may be some dilution in terms of quality and all, but the price level will differ. So like that, this is just an example to clarify you the segmentation process, how you undertake the process. Clear? So you decide, and in that decision, how attractive is the target market? See, the market which you are planning after segmentation, the market which you are going to target should give you sufficient returns for the resources which you have deployed. If the market is too small to give you sufficient returns, or people in that they are not willing to uh, spend more, we have talked of ability to pay and the willingness to pay. People may be having the ability but not willing to pay. So you pick up one or more than one market which you target, and you have a maybe a common mix with the right blend, or you may have different mixes of marketing. That we had talked about, no, that different components of marketing mix, 4 Ps, can be used in different combinations. So you may have a one different types of marketing mix for one segment and a different types of marketing mix for another segment. Like for one segment, you may be charging a low price, which is in line with the competition in that particular segment. And for another segment, you may be charging a high price. And maybe you justify that high price by higher levels of promotions also. What are the plus points? What is exclusive about that? So what are the general factors which are taken into consideration? Thrust of the company. What is the thrust area for the company where the company will have a key advantage over its competition? Like it may be in terms of finance, it may be like, say, one basic thing could be a company has deep pockets, it has its own money which it can deploy. And a company which has limited only the seed capital of its own and they have to take loan from the bank. If they have to take loan from the bank, they have to factor in the cost of borrowing that capital, which may be much higher than the opportunity cost for a firm which is deploying its own resources. It will have an impact on the cost of production, and based on the cost of production, it will have an impact on the price which you are able to charge. Then size of the segment. Size should be sufficient, which gives economic potential, or it should be possible that even if the size is small now, it should be possible to grow. There must be growth potential of the target market. Like if there is such area is such that the current demand is high, but the future potential is low, is not likely to increase. It may gradually go down only. Then that should not be the right type of market to be targeted. Then what kind of financial outlay will be required? See what we call the entry cost. Entry cost is basically, when you are trying to enter a market in which there are already large number of players, then how do you enter? Either you promote it very heavily, advertising, publicity, boards and all that, it costs money, or you lower your price and you outprice your competition. Can you think of one example which happened like that recently? Recently means over the last, say, 5-7 years.
Geo example?
Yes. Geo, when it entered the market, it brought into the market very low priced handsets as well as low priced packages. So much so that the basic model which they introduced was costing at that point of time just about 500. And even that they came out with a package that if you take this package and continue for so much period, you will get a discount, and then eventually your cost of the handset will be zero. Handset will be free. Abroad, even now they are doing it even for the high end products. Like say you buy a high end mobile, and if you are subscribing for a 3-year plan Of course, their packages are higher, the monthly packages are higher, sufficient enough that within the 3 years, the company feels that they will be able to recover the cost of the set plus other profit also. They are doing it. They are even offering cars like that. No, you buy a new car and you drive it for 5 years, 5 years EMI you pay, end of it residual value, you exchange the car, and practically, you are paying only the EMIs, and you get a residual value for the new car also. You can exchange it. These are all marketing factors, the way they do it. So outlay required, entry cost, building cost associated with the building the market. Of course, these days with the mobiles and the digital cameras and the digital saving of the photos and all, the traditional cameras have become obsolete. Nobody goes for them. But there was a time in my younger days that marketing gimmick used to be that you buy the reel and development will be free, or you buy once and get it developed of this thing after a particular cost level, the replacement reel will be free. Used to be that reel, this thing used to be used, no, the color ones. The cost of developing the colored photos was kept in a way that the cost of providing the fresh reel to the user was made up. You get a reel developed and you get an alternate reel free. Profitability, what kind of profit company will be able to make? And what happens is that the products in which the value addition is low, the profits are also less. And since the profits are also less, the risk goes up. It becomes more hazardous over a long period. So it should be possible for the company to make a proper estimate of the possible reduction in the cost in the future and possible growth in the future of the sales. Of course, some risk is unavoidable in any business, some risk is part of it. But then the risk can be what we can call the usual risks and the higher risks. So, promoting an existing product is less risky. De- Developing and introducing a new product is more risky. Then the competition, what the competition is doing. See, what happens is that within a particular market, the company which comes up with the improvised version of the product with the new technology, or comes up with a similar product but with a lesser cost, will have an edge over the others. And there may be certain areas where there are already well established firms. So their entry into that becomes more difficult. So even when if the segment is large enough, the potential is large enough, still the ability to compete with the established firms may be low. How durable the segment is, whether the segment will have a long life or no, that will differ. Now, let's say, what is the low durability segment in this thing? Fashion category. Within the clothing, you have the regular clothing and what we call the fashion clothing. Fashion clothing is based on the fads of the individual, and that is the durability is very small. So, if you make substantial investment and the market survives for a very small time, you may not be able to recover your investment. Whereas the markets which are durable, like say, if say within the same category, school uniforms or say industrial uniforms for certain categories which are prescribed for the workers, they have a much longer life. There may be minor changes. Of course, no company keeps that large stock that they will not be able to make changes. So it gets exhausted by the end of one particular term, and they bring up with the new thing. Then mobility within the segments. How easily people move from one segment to the other. Whether the mobility is high. If the mobility is high, then that may not be an attractive segment, because segments which are stable are more attractive from the marketing point of view. Otherwise, no, you have to keep spending more. Now, like, it is much easier to retain an existing customer than attract a new customer. So if the markets are not stable, then the company has to spend more for attracting the new customers. Visibility of the market segment. How distinctly visible it is from the other segments. It should not be blurred or overlapping. If it is blurred overlapping, then you find it difficult to focus on it. It should be distinct, like, say, one thing which you can, like, say, again, take the example of distance learning and the regular learning is one thing, and then the regular learning, the college students and the school students, distinct categories are there, distinctly visible. And if you are targeting them, you have a very clear idea. And since they are distinctive, they are likely to be more stable otherwise, more than others. The segment which you choose, which you target, should be easily accessible also. Accessible through, like, say, communication. It should be possible for you to reach. And then distribution to them should also be easy. Like, say, suppose your factory is in NCR, National Capital Region. Then what should be what will be the easily accessible target markets for you? If you see the towns nearby, they will be the easily accessible. Like, say, if you are based in NCR and you try to target, say, Bhopal or Indore in MP, or say Jaipur in Rajasthan, for the purpose of distribution, channel will be much longer, transport costs will be added, the possibility of damage during transport will be added, then you need storage at the other end. Whereas locally means accessibility is much better, much better. So taking all these factors into account, company thrust, size and growth potential, investment needed, profitability, risk involved, competition, segment durability, mobility, visibility, all these are accessibility are the factors which you take into account to decide which particular segment should be your target market segment. Idea is that you should not fritter away your resources. Whatever resources the company has, you should be able to make optimum utilization of that. They should not be wasted. So companies may decide to pick up a single segment, only one segment, and have a thorough understanding of the needs of that segment. And make your presence felt in a big way. Like, Nirma was a late entry into the washing powders, this thing. Surf was the well-established one. So what did they do? They targeted low income segment. They brought out low priced products. And of course, today the Nirma is an established brand by itself. They bring out different products and even the high-end products. Company may decide to go in for the selective specialization. Idea is that if you are concentrating only on a single segment, then that becomes risky vis-a-vis the one if you pick up 2, 3, which you can easily serve and which have slightly different requirements. Within those two, three segments, or maybe three, four, five segments, you focus with slightly different marketing strategy. It helps minimize the risk for the firm. But that risk will come only if you are able to minimize the, if you are able to have a synergy between the products. Synergy, well, again, the term I used earlier also, एक और दो 11. If you are not able to have synergy, then you may not be able to have any advantage. There may not be any plus point in selecting those markets. You may pick up a market based on the product specialization of the product, like say laptop for the individuals, laptops for the government. No, see, the government, no, or the say business organizations, larger organizations, they go for no LAN, local area network, or a wide area network and all. So you must have be familiar, no? The terminals, they don't have a independent hard disk or this thing. The soft hard, there's a common server, and the terminals which are given to the individuals are the dummies. No, like they don't have independent this thing. They use the same common resource. So though they serve the same purpose, the two types, the way they are provided, have two different, distinctly different categories. Specialization of for a particular market, specific market segment, or the company, if the company has large enough, has sufficient resources, it may decide to cover the whole market and offer different products as well as different variants of the same product. Like say Hindustan Unilever provides soaps, detergents, toiletries, cosmetic products, and in each one it has different uh, types, different. In fact, they have taken over certain other brands from the companies from them over, or taken over from the market, assimilated them, and within that again different sizes, right from sachets to the small size, economy size, and the family size, and all that. They come up with the wide variations in the same area, and that way they are able to cover the so many different segments of the market. Positioning. What is positioning? We had talked about STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning. We have discussed the segmentation. We have just discussed targeting. Now we come to the positioning. Positioning basically refers to the image of the product or the impression which you create in the minds of the consumers. The satisfaction which the customer derives, based on that, the customer may adopt different variant of the same product, though the product may satisfy the same basic need. One example which can be taken easy to comprehend is like soap. Now, what does a soap do? Used for bathing. We talk of bathing soap. What is the advantage? Cleanliness. How many different types of soaps you have in the market? You have Lux, you have Lux Supreme, you have Lifebuoy, you have Dove, you have Hammam, you
Sir,
have
Dettol.
huh?
Dettol.
Dettol. Now, what is the positioning of each of them if you take up one by one? What is the tagline or the what you call the jingle for the life boy? You recall? Life boy है जहाँ तंदुरुस्ती है वहाँ, isn't it? Or Dettol,
कुछ नहीं होगा.
no germs. Lux Ordinary and Lux Supreme,
Beauty soap.
Beauty Soap. Dove,
Cream based.
Beauty Aid. So what is happening? Basically, there are soaps. Maybe some change in the components used, with the result that there are some variation in the final product. But they are basically soaps. What is being done is that by taking different positions, projecting them as different this thing, the product is being positioned differently in the minds of the consumer. The Dove is marketed and positioned not as a soap but as a beauty aid. No, you get the aids, no, like soft skin. This side is rough. This side is soft. Use Dove on this side. Glow, glowing skin, no, and all that those things.
So can we also consider this as segmentation?
This is segment within the segment you are trying to position your product differently.
Understood.
This can be one basis of segmentation, but within that you are trying to position, like say, Lux and Lux Supreme, same soap with slightly maybe higher fat content or maybe glycerin or something. I don't know the composition exactly, but then some change in the ingredients of the product. You price it higher, but then you are not selling it as a soap. It remains basically soap, but you are positioning it as a beauty aid. It is for the stars, no. Lux Supreme is for the stars, and it is marketed as a no by some star and marketed differently. So this is a perception. You are trying to affect the perception of the individual and create a perceptual space in the consumer mind with reference to the competition's products. What you are trying to do, you are trying to distinguish your product from the product of your competition by trying to emphasize on one or more than one specific features of that product. And that is what now is used for the brand positioning also. Now, like you are trying to instill in the mind of the consumer that if you use your product, you will get a certain advantages. Now, like say again to repeat, now that glowing skin, soft skin, youthful looking skin, no wrinkles, all those benefits are being touted. So you are trying to create an image that yes, your product is better than that of your competition. So people should buy your product rather than that of the competition. I hope it is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, why do we need positioning and what is its importance, why it is required? See, in these days, you find that there is
Sir,
high decibel communication aimed at the yes. Some point.
no, I am just trying to answer the question.
Okay. Tell, please, Arti.
Yeah, positioning is to present your product or service in such a way that it should differentiate from others so that you specify your product line in the market.
Yeah. So, what we are trying to say here is that positioning is important and it is required. It is required because over a period of time, you find that over the last, say, couple of decades, the kind of input which is being given to the consumer has become excess, what we can information overflow. Multiple media have come up, and the promotional communication which are aimed at the consumer have become very high decibel. Now, for the consumer, is the consumer in a position to evaluate all the information which is being directed at him? And does he remember all of that? He cannot. Because at any given point of time, he has his focus on, say, one particular thing, one particular item, or what he intends to buy, or one particular type, and other information becomes redundant to him, surplus, superfluous. The limitation in the mental and the physical capacity of the consumer to produce all that information which is being directed at him is limited. And because of that, his retention capacity is low, is poor, and the way he retains it, that also gets distorted. So distortion level is also high. Retention rate is poor, distortion level is high because of the limited capacity of the consumer to process all the information which is being directed at him. So this information load limits the intention and the capacity of the individual. So because of that, you find that there is a need for positioning. This is the basic reason why we need the positioning, and this is the basic importance of the positioning also. Because you bring out a product, your product cannot be everything to everyone. Everyone doesn't need the same attributes. Everyone doesn't feel satisfied with your product. And since your on one product cannot be everything to everyone, that creates the possibility of positioning. So positioning becomes a connecting link between what the company is offering and what the target market is there, target market is looking for. So with that end in mind, the marketing mix will be combined, or the composition will be planned in such a way that it will be specific to that particular target market. And all that communication related to that particular brand becomes more effective. It becomes more relevant to the expectations or the, say, desire or the preferences of that particular market segment. Because the marketing strategy takes into account this thing, that what kind of positioning should be taken. The fact is, like, say, if you go back to the same example what we had discussed earlier, Dove and, say, Lifebuoy, you can see two distinct market segments, isn't it? And one segment, but like, say, Lifebuoy is more price sensitive, and the one which is using the Lux Supreme or Dove kind of soap is less price sensitive but more quality conscious. I hope that distinction is quite clear, no? There is no doubt about this. So since that is clear, then your positioning strategy, what you do, what you communicate for that particular type of positioning becomes much easier, much more focused, and therefore much more effective. Now, how do you develop the positioning strategy? What all you do? What are the different steps involved? First is an in-depth analysis of the industry and the competition. What kind of industry you are working in, what kind of competition you have, who are the major players in the market. And even the major players will have some limitations. What are their strengths and what are their limitations? That analysis will help you develop the positioning strategy. Then, similar analysis about what your competition is doing. Like, one thing is that when you are developing your marketing strategy, your competition is also developing the marketing strategy, and a major chunk of the information which is being collected and the overall market which is being targeted may be common. So where do you have the advantage? It is not an easy exercise. And it may so happen that what is an ideal position from a buyer's point of view may not be the actual position which is obtaining. Reality may be different from the ideal. And the distinction between that, how you are viewing that distinction, how the competition is viewing that distinction may vary. So that analysis, how effectively you do that analysis will make a big difference into the your market strategy, because you have to find out what are the points where you have similarity with your competition, what are the points where you have differences with your competition, and which of these points can be exploited by you. Like, say, you may offer a position which is distinct from that of competition. You claim that this is different. Your product is not the same, like it doesn't come in the same category. It is a distinct category by itself. Or your product is superior in ways that the customer will benefit more. You have to be able to convince that. You have to be able to emphasize that. Of course, it is not only a question of making a propaganda. Your product should actually be able to satisfy those needs. Now, these days, no, the government has become much more conscious of the misleading campaigns, misleading advertising campaigns and all, and there are penalties which are imposed. Companies are penalized, and now even the competition is pointing out, like companies making such and such claim which is false and misleading. It is not this thing. That difference which you point out should be sufficient to generate a profit for you. It should be preemptive, in the sense that preemptive is that you do it before your competition does it. You preempt the competition by introducing that. And if the difference is so small that it can be easily imitated by the competition over a very short period of time, then that advantage of preemption is gone. It may be there for a small period, but doesn't survive for long. You try to distinguish your product, you try to make it distinct, but in the process, it should not become so costly that it is not affordable by the consumers. Difference should be there, but it should be within that limit where it is still affordable by the consumer. Otherwise, the advantage is lost. It should be possible for you to communicate to the individual that these are the distinct features, and it should be possible for the consumer to easily distinguish whether, yes, this difference is there. It should not be something which is in the air. Like you emphasize on some technical point which a common man is not able to appreciate. If he doesn't appreciate, then he will not be willing to spend the money for your product. It should be possible for you to communicate those differences to the buyer. Now, having positioned your product, or say at one step before that, you have to decide the theme about the positioning. When you trying to position your product against your competition, how do you do that? Two ways: implicit, which is clear, which is hidden, and explicit, which is obvious. In the implicit, you highlight the features without naming the competitor's product, without naming the competition. In explicit, you name the competition and then tell that how your product is superior to your competition. Positioning based on the benefits which the product provides. Like again, one entrant into the cosmetics, this thing, which we based Patanjali. Patanjali positioned its word based on the what? What was the tagline? Herbal, non-chemical, natural ingredients. That is how it entered the market. So Patanjali could enter the market and we have built a fairly large empire based on the benefits of the product, claiming that they are using only the natural ingredients and not based on the chemicals. So much so that even the competition has tried to match that. Like say you have Colgate Herbal, you have one more, I think it's by name Ved Shakti or something, by some company. So all those products which the Patanjali introduced into the market against the competition on the plea that they use only the natural ingredients and not the chemicals, has forced the competition to come up with the similar products, claiming that yes, for this product they are using only the herbal. So the competition is trying to have both original products, chemical based, as well as the new products which are herbal based. Positioning on the price, brand, no, you based on that you are charged the lowest, and you claim that that is the advantage. You are having your product has the same features which a competition is offering, and still you are the cheapest. You are offering it at a much lower rate. Clear so far? Now, what are the errors which can come up when you are trying to position your product? Under positioning. You try to position them, you try to communicate, but you do it in a way that your customers do not have a clear idea about what your product is or what benefits it will provide. They have only a vague idea. And if the customer have a vague idea, then their impression will be that there is nothing distinctive about your product. Your product is in no way better than or different from your competition. This is the case of under positioning or over positioning. When you have product the position in such a way that customers have a very limited understanding of your company or your product. Like general impression even today is that Apple products are only the expensive products. Apple iPhone, Apple Watch, other products which they have brought out, all are costly. So this is a case of over positioning. That a impression is created that Apple comes up only with the costlier products. So there may be many who, if they were to know the exact details, may still be in a position to afford those products. But still, because of that impression, that image in the mind, they may not even consider going for the Apple products. Over positioning, confused positioning. When a company keeps on changing its stand, makes frequent changes in that positioning strategy, with the result that it is gives the messages to the consumer which are contradictory in nature and which end up confusing the consumer about the product of the company. So because of that confusion, he decides not to go for this, goes for something different. Doubtful positioning, when the consumer feels that the, the benefits which the company is claiming about the product or the particular brand are not credible. They are not trustworthy. They are claiming so, but it may actually not be so. If any of these situations come, under positioning, over positioning, and it may be required to reposition the product. Like your current positioning strategy has failed, so there may be need to reposition the product to take care of the mistakes which you might have made in while positioning the product initially. And as the product evolves during its life cycle, because of the new technology, the product may acquire a totally distinctive uh, face, or the distinctive nature of the product may become totally distinctive. And accordingly, the structure of the competition may also undergo a change. See, one example you can take is, say, TVs. Starting with black and white to color TV to the high definition TV, HD TV, then LED TV, then smart TV, foldable TV, very thin TV. Uh, all those things, they have technology has made it possible. TV remains TV. The basic purpose it serves is entertainment, but the way that entertainment is provided in terms of the clarity of picture, sound, ease of changing, then but different features, picture in picture had come sometime, flat screen, concave, this thing, so many different things. And you have altogether different product segment, you can say, the subcategory of that segment which has come up, which is distinct from others. And companies, still are trying to keep on adding features and then try to reposition this thing, their product. One example is TV, but you can find the similar examples for the other areas. So the process involved, the steps involved may be same. The product, the kind of market you are planning, the kind of competition is there, kind of resources you have, all those steps involved may be same. But basic point is that it is not that once you have positioned your product in a particular way, it is the end of it and that there is no going back. No, you can change it. Of course, it involves cost. It may be there may be wastage of effort in the what you have done earlier. Any point, any query with reference to these 3 points: segmentation, targeting, and positioning?
I want to ask one question. When we are discussing about segmentation, targeting, and positioning, they are interrelated or we have to look them separately?
No, there are three steps in the same position, same this thing. You start with the segmentation, then you target a particular market, and within the target market, you position your product.
Thank you, sir.
There are three steps which are used in the consequence, in one sequence. First step is segmentation, second step is targeting, and within the target market, like company, like say you take the example of Lux and Lux Supreme. The company has basic product is one, two variants, and two different positionings for each variant. I hope the distinction is clear.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Any other point? No? Shall we close this unit, this chapter here? I stop sharing this particular slide and then go to the next one.
Sir, I have a question. The small
Buddy.
question actually. I just wanted to ask the why positioning is important when you have a larger market. Then why the company is that they compiling they in a small segment. So why it is important?
No, but see, when you are Dove is a distinct market, you are charging a higher price. For Lux Supreme, you are charging a higher price. If you are able to charge a higher price by making it distinct, positioning it distinctly, that means you are adding to your profits, isn't it? You are trying to position your product as distinct from that of the others, or maybe distinct from your other product. And because of that, based on that distinction, you charge a higher premium, you charge a higher price. And if you are able to charge a premium, that means you are able to have a higher profit. And ultimately, you are in the business for higher profits only.
Yeah, understood, sir.
Anything else? Any other point? We will go on to the next slide, next chapter.
Sir, are you added to a WhatsApp group?
WhatsApp group. I
Yeah.
have not made any WhatsApp group.
No. We have a unofficial WhatsApp group. So if you could share your number, so we can add you and you can share these PPT with us. It will be helpful.
No, this is being recorded. All the sessions are being recorded,
Sir,
and the
but
RCD will be uploading it on the
No.
as a YouTube this thing.
Sir, it's a 2 hour long session. The PDF PPTs would be much easier and accessible for us.
No, I won't do it separately. I won't do it separately.
Sir, we
But the
only want that PPTs. We are not requesting you to add in some of the group, but we just requesting for the PPTs so that we can, we can go through again.
You have
Mr. Biswas sir has
a
already
word
did
with
that.
we have a word with the coordinator, the person who is coordinating for you.
So we don't know any coordinator or anything.
No,
Sir,
this is,
here we are facing a much challenge, sir, because there is an assignment which we need to complete and submit. But
yes. See, I have a limited role to play.
I understand, sir. I understand. Even our previous lectures now. So there is a sir who actually help us with the PPTs. So if we request you, if you can help us, so
one or
that
two sessions I attended for just to have a feel of the what. I found that there were no PPTs. It was only the study material which was being gone through, and then of course some points highlighted within the study material.
So that
We'll
depends
have a word with the
professor on professor, but
we'll have a word with the administration and then decide about it. I will not commit a offhand.
if you have their number, we don't even have their number,
Which number?
the admin number or any contact details.
I won't provide them.
Thank you for your help, sir.
See,
Please,
it's a limitation overall. No, like say, I
sir,
am not.
we are not
head of
asking
the
for your
district or
bank account
university.
details, sir.
It's not
It's just a
that
PPT.
college. I am the college principal, and I will. You make a request, and I am free to decide. No, I am not free to decide.
So the PPTs must be prepared by you only, na?
No, I don't teach only for IGNOU.
So it is available, sir, at IGNOU site.
No, it won't be.
See, as it is, to tell you honestly, I am not an employee of the IGNOU. I am a counselor.
So that's we
Teaching is not
completely
my
understand.
profession.
We are just
Teaching
requesting
is
if
not
you
my
could please
profession.
share these PPT. That would be really helpful for us. That's it.
Can you please email it?
No, please stop this discussion. Let us go to the next session, and I will ask about this. Your request with the
Sir,
administration.
I want to know something. This is not about the PPT. The reading material which is available on the IGNOU at the course site, so that is similar with the PPT. So if we gone through that, so there is no need of PPT in that case.
No, what is your last what you said? It's the same material, but what you said?
So I just want to know the material which is already shared in the course. Like there is one
It is same. It is
course.
based on the same. See, the basic knowledge or the basic principles which are discussed and shared remain the same. They have to be the same. No, it is like say cooking at home. The cooking procedure is same, but different people, gents and the ladies, they have their own distinction, and some prepare very good food and some prepare a lousy food. But the basic method of preparing the food remains the same. You have to cut the vegetables, you have to have in them the right mix.
So we don't have enough time to
Right-
buy the vegetables, na?
The right
the
way to
market.
cook remains that is this thing based on their experience and all.
Sir, if we
So the
write a
basics
different
remain the
answer
same.
instead of
Basics remain the same here too.
sir,
And
in the
not only this
assignment.
chapter, not only this subject, all subjects, the basics
Yeah,
remain the
I
same.
understand, sir. But if we write an assignment, write with the different things, not with the same like STP described in the different example or something else, so it is acceptable.
Yes,
Okay.
it should be relevant. No, being different is no disadvantage, but being irrelevant is yes. You may give something different, but if it is not relevant to the question asked. Like one example from my previous experience, I can say is that question was about the different stages of product life cycle, and the student, the way the question was framed, some of them were writing about the new product development, which is totally different.
So that's why precise knowledge is important.
No, you should be able to, you should go through the question and understand what is being asked, and your
Because of the
answer should be
previous
based on the
assignment was
question. Not that you have read the word product and then you jump on to either a new product development or the product life cycle. They are two distinct functions. Procedure involved is different. The concepts involved are different. But this kind of mistakes students have done. And no amount of sharing of PPTs or sharing of this thing will help in that situation. No. And that basically, this honestly, what I feel is that share the PPTs stems from the desire that we don't have to do the labor, and counselor has done the labor, so that labor will acquire free, and nothing is required to be done by us, and we'll go
So
through.
we don't have enough time to do the labor, right? We anyway
I
don't have
don't know.
enough
I
time.
don't know that these things are. When did you get the study material? When did you get enrolled? I don't want to do all those details. Please.
Yes, sir.
Done.
Thank you
Let's
so much.
proceed with the session.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. We can go ahead then.
Next one is consumer behavior. We have spent a lot of time in the previous session and then some other, what we'll call is not the related discussion related to the topic as such. So we may not be able to complete it today, but I try to give you an over idea, and then post we have 2 sessions tomorrow. We'll pick up from where we leave, and if we are able to cover a major chunk of it, then we may be able to take up the next session, next topic tomorrow. Now this one is about the consumer behavior. Now, what is consumer behavior?
So
Each
how consumer
Yeah, yes, बोलिए.
how consumer react toward any product line, like
Yes, when deciding to buy a product, basic steps involved may be common. Like I mentioned to you that basic steps involved in the cooking are same, but output may vary in a big way. So steps involved in the while deciding to buy a product may be similar, but the way a consumer comes to a decision and all the different steps involved, the way that he behaves in while undertaking those steps will differ from individual to individual. And from the marketing point of view, idea is that if you are able to understand why a consumer behaves in a particular way, the way he does, it should be possible for you to influence that behavior, and to the extent you are able to understand that, you will be able to persuade him to buy your product. And basic purpose of marketing is persuading him to buy your product, persuading maximum number of consumer to buy your product, I will say. This much is clear. How do you define consumer behavior? Those acts of individuals refers to consumers, which are directly involved in obtaining, using, and disposing of economic goods, including the decision process that precedes and determines these acts. Taking up these one by one, those acts remain common. Again, I am emphasizing that the basic acts remain the common, but the way he reacts while undertaking those steps and doing those acts will differ for each individual depending upon so many different factors. We'll be discussing those factors subsequently in the session. Like within the same family, 2 or 3 siblings are there. Each one may have a different set of preferences. Children may have preferences different from the parents. Brother may have different from my sister or other brother, or from the friends, or say colleagues in the office. So that way, each consumer is unique, as reflected in the way he buys a product, consumes that, and subsequent disposes of. And post-consumption behavior, how whether he feels satisfied or not, that also will be different for each consumer. Now, we had mentioned briefly earlier also that an individual has a dual role. Individual as a personal buyer, personal consumer, where he buys things for himself or his family, and that is based on his personal likes and dislikes. He will choose a product or a service based on what he likes or dislikes and what he can afford or cannot afford. But the same individual, when he is buying as an organizational buyer, as a purchase officer, purchase manager on behalf of an organization, then the steps involved, the way he evaluates, steps involved may be similar, but the way he evaluates, that is different. So his buying process as an individual and buying process and behavior as a organizational buyer would maybe totally different. Because as an organizational buyer, he is guided and constrained both by the policies and procedures of the firm for which he is working. There is a firm or a business organization may lay down so many procedures, rules and regulations for which must be followed by an individual buying for the company. When he's not constrained by any of these such things, when he's buying for himself, the only constraint may be the money in his pocket. Why understanding or studying consumer behavior is important for the marketeers? What we have talked of the segmentation, what we have talked of, what are the segmentations consist of? People with similar needs and preferences. They come together and are identified as a distinct subcategory or a market segment. So to be able to successfully market to different market segments, different subcategories, a manager needs to have appropriate marketing strategy which is specific to that particular segment. He will be more successful, more effective, will be able to utilize his resources more if he is able to do that. If he doesn't, then there may be wastage of resources. Strategy may or may not work, or may work effectively for one, may not work effectively for the other, if he doesn't make any distinction. Because of that, it is possible, it is desirable or required that it should be possible for him to be able to understand the differences in the consumer preferences and taste which result in the differences in the consumer behavior. And they are not stable. These consumer taste and preferences will change over a period of time. It may happen because of the changes in technology. It may happen because of the changes in the income levels. It may happen because of exposure to the what we call the demonstration effect. The way the people are exposed over the social media to the different kinds of campaigns in the TV, in other platforms, that makes a change in their preferences. And all this behavior gives the clues to the marketeer to explore different ways of offering the products. Of course, the technology helps in a big way. And technology helps in a big way in marketing also. So like say these days, no, you Google anything, try to Google anything by any name, and for the next couple of days or maybe more than a week or so, you will keep getting ads related to that kind of product. One simple act of clicking on one particular ad or a particular product category on your screen, whether on mobile or on the laptop, will lead to bombarding you with the all sorts of inputs related to that product. You must have experienced it, doesn't it? One thing to understand is that consumer behavior is not one-time activity. It is a process which happens in over a period in different processes. And actual purchase is one part of this process. Purchase is not the just the only thing about the consumer behavior. It is a step-by-step process, and purchase is one part of this process. And there are various factors which influence this process. Better you understand this, or you means marketer can understand this, and vary and manipulate the influencing factors, he'll be able to predict the consumer behavior better. And since he's able to do it better, more accurate that prediction is, more accurate will be his marketing strategy, and higher the benefits. And reducing the risks associated with that marketing strategy will also be less. This thing we had covered earlier also, but since this is relevant to the consumer behavior, so it is being repeated slightly in more detail. Buyer versus consumer. Consumer who buys the product, the person who buys the product is not necessarily the person who will actually consume it or use it. In the family setup, head of the family may be buying it, and rest of the family or one or two members of the family may be the users. I had mentioned earlier also that as a marketing manager, whom you should concentrate upon, the person who is buying it or the customer who is using it.
I have an query.
Yes,
There is any theory which can explain the proper difference between them?
between them.
Yeah, any theory, existing theory.
This is the theory, like say, this is very much distinct. What theory you need to distinguish between the buyer and the consumer? Like say, you buy fruit, you are single, staying alone, maybe in a hostel or maybe in a, as a working girls hostel or somewhere, staying alone. You are the buyer as well as the consumer. You are a family person, housewife, or maybe for the male side, the head of the family. He may be buying fruit, he brings it home, the whole family consumes it, including the individual. Buyer is one, consumers are many. What theory you need for making this distinction? It is so obvious. And in the organizational context, it is known like the person who is nominated, that this particular person or this particular wing of the organization will do the purchases for this thing. He is nominated. Yeah? Yes.
Generally, we use a consumer behavior. So rarely it seems the buyer behavior in any theory when we read the distinct theory of the marketing itself. So generally we can consider all the theory aspect with consumer. So that's my question is.
No, I am not clear about what you are trying.
So I'm asking in general marketing theory, when we use and consider the different perspective of the marketing, then we consider the term consumer behavior. So in that case, the consumer behavior itself describe the buying behavior. So is it right to use the consumer behavior only and not to use the buyer behavior, or every time whenever we are discussing about the perspectives, we have to describe the difference?
No, you here, see, that is it. Basically, that is what this particular screen itself is about, that only. That when you are trying to devise your marketing strategy, whether you should focus on buyer or the final consumer. Sometimes the buyer and consumer is same. Sometimes buyer and consumers are different. And wherever the buyer and consumers are different, it should be, you are required to study the both. Sometimes it so happens that consumers, the actual user, the person who is using it, is able to influence the buyer in such a way that buyer will go only for this. What the consumer wants, he will have no say. It happens in the family circumstances itself. Like children want a particular type of TV. Head of the family will go to that. He is the buyer. He is spending the money. But decision, in fact, there are so many other this thing, and if you go through your study material, and if we get time, we'll get to that. That gatekeepers, deciders, who does what. There are different categories. We'll come to that subsequently down in the this thing, this presentation. In the who all are involved. Like say, if children want a particular thing, the mother may put the foot down. No, this is not good for the children. We will not buy. Who is the decider? Mother, not the user. Users want a particular thing. Mother doesn't let it happen. In the organizational context, the users want a particular this thing. Like say, I am the user department and I want that I should get the highest end of the laptop. The management or the finance, they put their foot down. No, they are the gatekeepers. They don't let you buy it. And since I am in the organization, my behavior will also differ. No, like say as an individual, I may not go for the highest this thing because I am spending my own money. In the organization, I may ask for the highest one because company is paying for it. So, since we have not gone through the whole thing, you have this doubt. I think this will get clarified.
Yes, sir.
One thing is certain, that a marketeer, depending upon the conditions, depending upon the type of product, may have to take into consideration. What is that? Someone was trying to speak something. He may have to focus on one or the other or on both. That will differ. That will differ depending upon the context, the product, and because of those products, the parameters may be different. In even this slide itself, you see the down below, to play safe, focus on both. Identify the best prospects, or whether buyer or the user. Identify the best prospect for your products. Who is the one who is the more influential in deciding, buyer or the user? But to be safe, focus on both. Now this is again going into the, just a minute. This is the simplest way of describing the consumer behavior. What comes to the consumer by way of input is external influences, inputs related to 4 P's: product, price, promotion, process, the distribution process, or the place you can, sometimes the place is used. Inputs are coming to him. And other than marketing stimuli, other stimuli are economic, technological, political, social, part of the macro environment. They are coming to him. These are coming as inputs into his mind. And consumer, based on his personality, his personal characteristics, his cultural characteristics, his psychology, what we had talked of, that activities and preferences and all those things, they all play a role. And consumer makes a decision. Stimuli, this is his mind. Within his mind, he processes all that information, plus his own perspective, his personality. And output comes by way of a decision about the product. Having decided the product, then the next decision will be which particular brand, then from which dealer, when to buy, and how much money he should spend. Like, say, a consumer, a family doesn't have a TV, and the basic decision is taken that a TV has to be bought. Now, TV has to be bought, then based on the overall scenario, what kind of TV? He will get inputs, He will get inputs about the product. You get so many ads in the different media, print media, TV, social media and all, about the product, about the price, and where it can be had, where it is available. And he processes all that in his mind, and based on his psychology. Like, say, a person is very influenced by the social media inputs, that like there is a lot of this thing coming up that we should not be buying the Chinese products, because we should not be buying the foreign products, because the money goes to the foreign company, and some of them are not friendly to us, and they use the same money which we take from us against us. Someone may take this very seriously and decide that no, I will not buy TV from this company. And someone may say कि no, ठीक है, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता यार, मैं एक ले रहा हूँ ना, बाकी सब तो नहीं ले रहे. It depends on the individual's mental makeup, the individual characteristics, psychological, personal, the way he thinks at it. And then output is, the decision is made, TV is to be bought. Then, if like this example we have taken, certain brands are ruled out, and certain brands are in the consideration zone. Within that, there may be that impression about that these particular brands are good and these brands are not good. So some of the ones which do not have very high market standing, or they are not popular brands, may be ruled out, and the focus may be only on finally come down to one particular brand, that we'll go for this particular brand. Then from where to buy? Like, say, company showroom, some wholesaler, dealer, some retailer. Company showroom may not be offering the EMIs. Retailer may be offering the EMIs. That may be become the consideration from whom to buy, or buy some store which is nearest to you, easy to approach, easy to service later on if so required. That may become the consideration. Then when to buy? फेस्टिवल टाइम, दिवाली है, कुछ तो खरीदना है, धनतेरस है, कुछ तो खरीदना है, मैरिज एनिवर्सरी है, बाय इट, समथिंग फॉर द चिल्ड्रन, बर्थडे है, बाय एज अ गिफ्ट. So many this thing, so many considerations can be there. Then how much to spend? That will also differ from individual to individual. How much you can afford. And there may be a certain individual who says, no, I will buy less, but I will go for the best. I will buy lesser number of products. If I want to buy 10 products, I will buy 1 or 2 only. But those 1 or 2 will be the best in the market. And someone else may say that, no, let me buy all the 10 lower end, so that I have all the 10. That is individual preference. This model of consumer behavior I hope it is clear. There is no problem in understanding this. Now, what are the factors which influence the consumer behavior? We will discuss this in brief, but individual factors will not be able to go into details. We are just about 4 minutes pending. Even if I try to overshoot, it will not help. So the host of variables which affect the consumer behavior: personal motivation, needs and attitudes, personal characteristics, cultural background, social background, age, gender, status in the society. All these combined together, they work simultaneously, and each person comes to a final judgment, and that final judgment may be distinct to him. All these factors again, like each factor doesn't affect each individual in the same manner. Within these factors, some of the factors are more important to some people and less important to other people. So all these they are taken together, and then the person makes a decision. There may be some similarities, some differences. These similarities and differences help the marketer classify the behavior of individual consumers into distinct categories. And then the strategy is to target them, the communication which is given to them, this stimuli which we had talked of, these stimuli, they try to change that according to those groups. Now, with this thing, I think I will stop sharing because just 2-3 minutes are left. I will try to use this time for clarifying any doubts. It's better that I clarify doubts rather than rush with the rest. Any points you want to ask? We'll pick it up from here and continue with the other sessions, other chapters. Anything about what we have covered today? First session, second session, or any other general query and other general doubt, other than sharing of PPTs? Any point? Pardon? I couldn't get it. No queries? If no queries, then I will close the recording and close the session also as well. Nothing to ask?